And welcome back to another episode of PWT Talks NXT for July. I was going to say June, July 2nd, 2024. Another episode of NXT, go home episode of NXT before NXT Heatwave coming up this Sunday. Kind of a mediocre go home show, if I had to say, but that's just me. I feel like the largely inconsequential things happened on the show. We've kind of already had a lot of our storylines, a couple stories, wrapping up before the big show here, but yeah, just kind of just seemed like a night of wrestling. Wasn't anything overly exciting or spectacular, at least in my perspective anyway. Bruce, who are you, and did you like the show?
I'm Bruce Hazelwood. Find me at B_Lee253. I also wrote the report for tonight. It's up at the Torch in the VIP side. And while it might not have been very inconsequential for this Sunday, I feel like it was pretty consequential, I guess, for the coming weeks. You had, especially within the women's division, you had a lot of stories extended or, I guess, started tonight, both championship and non-championship. So I feel like while not a lot of it was set up for the Sunday, because as you were saying, they already had a good bit of everything set up for the Sunday anyway, so you don't have to do too much more, just the stuff for the two main title matches. But I do think that this is one of those nights where we look back in a couple weeks and like, oh, that's why this match happened. Oh, this happened. Oh, that happened. Right. Okay. So as far as the go home show, I don't expect much from go home shows anyway because of the nature. You got to save those spots and those exciting moments for the pay-per-view and the PLE. So it's just, and I guess maybe because I'm writing the report, it feels a little different too. But to me, it was a, I don't think it was a bad show, but it wasn't too much of a memorable show.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, I wasn't, I wouldn't call it a bad show by any stretch, but yeah, and like you said, definitely setting some things up for the weeks ahead. Just not as exciting as I guess I would expect a show right before a PLE to be. But I guess that happens from time to time. Um, if you guys would like, you can always email us, pwtorchnxt@gmail.com. Or you can actually join this show if you'd like. I will. Where is the link? I don't know. I got a link somewhere. When I find it, I'll copy it and I will paste it
It's in
into
my
the chat.
VIP. It's on my report on the VIP side as well.
All right. And I also just pasted it into the chat. So you guys can join and ask questions kind of like we used to do when we took callers. I didn't realize that we could do that. So I found that out last night when I called into Wade Keller's Pro Wrestling Post show after I went to Raw last night and inadvertently ended his stream. Sorry, Wade, didn't mean to do that. I still feel bad about that. But anyway, it happens. So let's talk about our main event segment. It wasn't a main event match, more of a main event segment. It was the men's the men's NXT Championship Fatal 4-Way contract signing before the Fatal 4-Way match at Heatwave. I wanted to say Stand and Deliver. We're not there yet. So we had Trick Williams entering the ring. All the other three men, Ethan Page, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans, were already in the ring, sitting in a seat in their respective seats in front of a couple folding tables, as contract signings tend to do. Except there were two tables, not just one. That means two people were going through a table a little bit later. I thought this was an interesting segment. Trick felt not just felt, I think he is the biggest star in this entire match. Kelly is not with us tonight, but he said something along the lines of earlier that I think it was Vic on commentary said Trick had a 25% chance at defending. And he's like, hey, you don't say that the champ has a 50% chance when he's facing the Brooklyn Brawler. And I
He
love
actually
that.
said Trick has a 75% chance of losing the title.
Okay. Well, I was just reading what Kelly wrote.
Kelly's wrong.
Dang it, Kelly, you're wrong. I like it when Kelly's wrong, so I'm fine with that. But yeah, so Trick clearly the biggest star here between he, Sean Spears, Javon Evans, and Ethan Page. I I'm intrigued by the match. I think it's going to be a good match this Sunday, but I don't know. Everything they've done a good job building to it, but there is no doubt in my mind Trick's winning this. I can't see Ethan Page walking away with the title yet. They might, as kind of a shock thing. Sean Spears definitely not. He's more of an enhancement talent at this point. He's there to stare at the lights and let people beat him. And Javon Evans, he's way, way, way too fresh right now, I think. I mean, he's definitely got experience under his belt, as we talked about. I think he's been wrestling since he was, I think it was 14. He was either 14 or 16. I'd have to look it back up, but still, he's been wrestling for a long time. I just don't feel like he's got it quite yet in NXT. In the segment itself, I think Javon Evans looked pretty good, all things considered. I still think he may need to enunciate a little bit more on the mic. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to understand what he's saying, but that said, I think he's definitely got the charisma. He's got the fans behind him. Ethan Page is fantastic on the mic, so nothing bad to say there really about him. And Sean Spears is really just Sean Spears. So yeah, Bruce, what did let's I've blabbed enough. Let's get your thoughts on this contract signing.
Trick obviously had the best one-liners. The best one being when Ethan Page said, "I don't like your chances" or something like that, and Trick goes, "Well, I don't like you," and everybody, "Oh." But Javon Evans had the best line of the night when he said, "Sean Spears, you want to talk about experience? Let's talk about your experience as NXT champion." And the whole crowd just went, "Oh!" And you could even see Trick and Ethan were looking at each other like, "Oh, no." So Evans held his own, I feel like, in that little segment. I could do without people going through the table every single time they have these kind of things, but I guess if you have the table there, satiate the crowd, because they didn't get a table during the street fight as much as they were chanting for it. And thank goodness they didn't actually pull out a table and do a little spot there. But overall, I feel like the contract signing accomplished the goal of getting you excited for the match. And importantly, in the type of match that they're having, planting little seeds that might get you to believe that Trick Williams might actually lose on Sunday due to one of the heels trying to pin either the other heel or Javon Evans. And I do think it was very funny how Sean Spears kept trying to use the inexperience and the young age of Javon Evans against him, and Evans just turned it right back on him. So I'm about to whip your dumb ass if you keep talking. So, I think he did fine. I think he's going to do fine. And the match on Sunday should be good. And I am just glad that I am not the one that has to recap that one on Sunday, but I'll also not be able to watch the show on Sunday. So there's that.
That's true. Kelly will be doing the report for NXT Heatwave at PWTorch.com and on the VIP side of things as well. So you can read what he thought about it before we probably do a VIP after show. I don't know. We haven't talked about that yet, but I'm sure we'll probably do one. All right. So let's I was going to say let's go to emails, but I don't have the inbox open yet. So I'm going to stall for time real quick as I open it. We'll go to an email from Azan White. Azan in the chat here. So thank you for, as always, thanks for throwing in an email. Hello, NXT gang. Was the match between Hank and Tank and the New Catch Republic the most pointless match ever on WWE TV this year? Hank and Tank never won anything. Hank and Tank never won ever on the show. And then secondly, it was a face versus face match. WWE needs to find a way to find TV time for Pete and Tyler that is not Raw. As a matter of fact, they found some TV time for Pete Dunne on Main Event this week. They taped that last night in Boston. Really good match that he had against Tozawa. Unfortunately, it's on Main Event and nobody's going to watch it. Should the drinking be an aspect of this Brooks Jensen character? And number 3, I like the build up for Oreo. I'm assuming
Oro.
he's talking Oro. His autocorrect made it say Oreo.
That's fine.
I like the build up for Oro. Big things in NXT. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you can get away with doing a bit of a drinking type of an angle especially if they're starting to drift away from the PG side of things and they're going more towards like a PG-13 product. We'll see what happens. I don't think they're going to actually go with PG-13. I'm not saying that, but we know that they've been pushing the envelope a little bit. I think they can get away with it, especially if they're telling a good story with it. And I also like what they're doing with Oro Mensah right now, between his backstage segment last week and then his performance tonight. I think Noam Dar getting injured was probably a plus for Oro Mensah. You know, he's not necessarily in Noam's shadow anymore. He's got to stand on his own and kind of almost be the front man for Metaphor, which is interesting because I thought it might be Lash Legend that kind of steps up, you know, and should be the kind of the leader of the group, but we'll see what happens. Bruce, on Azan's email.
So Brooks Jensen, Millennial Drinking Cowboy. Where have I heard that one before? And then when it comes to Oro Mensah, I like what they're doing with him, obviously, and he still has a goal in his mind, which is Ethan Page for what happened to Noam Dar, obviously. And I like that, even though, you know, the match tonight was just a one-off because of what happened last week. I think it was last week between him and Miles Bourne. I don't even think it was Miles Bourne that set it up. I think it was Charlie Dempsey who set it up, or David Kemp, one of the two. So, to me, what was most interesting about the whole interaction with Oro Mensah in the back was Stevie Turner and Robert Stone trying to compete over who is going to be Ava's right-hand person. And also, I think it's kind of funny that last week we talked about, wow, Ava was in a lot of scenes, and tonight she was in one scene, and it was at the very end of the show, right before the contract signing segment. So maybe they listened to us last week, and they thought, oh, maybe we should pull back. I don't know. And then I forgot the last question, but with Oro, at least with Oro and Metaphor, it's kind of interesting that they're going without. How do I put this? I'm surprised that the group has as much legs as they do right now without Noam Dar, because Noam Dar seems to be the key ingredient to make them function. But also then is a testament to the growth of both, or I guess all three of them, Lash Legend, Takara Jackson, and Oro Mensah, particularly with his vignette last week where he talked, or not the vignette, but the backstage segment where he talked about his story. So I feel like, you know, I don't know if Mensah's ceiling is going to be a champion at the singles level, but at least right now he's getting some kind of push. He's getting TV time, and it's also keeping the thought of Noam Dar Metaphor in your brain. So I like where they're going with him.
And yeah, his last question was more of a comment that he was just he liked the build up for Oreo. Let's see, NXT. Oh, that's for NXT years back. Kevin Catani says, salutations, gents. I hope this email finds you well. I thought tonight's episode served as a solid go home for Heatwave. I did think the Lola versus Roxanne segment went a bit long, but I love the emotion that Lola showed. I don't want to get into that, Bruce.
You should see our group chat.
Our group chat on
Kelly and
Lola.
me are sitting here just perplexed at Nate's inability to understand and identify genuine emotion.
I don't know. I've thought I've been on the autistic spectrum for a long time, so there is that, but I don't know. I feel like Lola was just. It felt so.
I guess it was more your resistance to listening to us. The two of us trying to tell you why, and you're just like, I don't believe it. I don't believe. I don't
probably.
Probably.
But anyway, let's. Sorry, Kevin, we derailed your email with our
group chat.
Our group chat debates. Yeah, so he says, I thought the Lola versus Roxanne segment went a bit long, but I love the emotion that Lola showed, and I think that it's adding to her depth versus a pretty hefty and self-absorbed Roxanne. Haughty. And self-absorbed Roxanne. I'm sure you'll cover the show proper, but if Lola wins, will Roxanne go up to the main roster? As far as the Brooks Jensen stuff goes, I'm still on the fence because I've never been a fan of using personal decay as a storyline element, a la Scott Hall or Jake the Snake Roberts, or I guess Hawk too. That was another one. Um, Lastly, despite the greenness of several of the women, I continue to be very impressed with the segment time the ladies are getting each week. Which developing star do you have the highest hopes for? Thanks as always. Go VIP and listen to 8YB Office Hours. Now over the Professor Kevin P. Catani, PhD. Um, so yeah, I guess we can. I mean, we could probably get into we probably should get into the Lola Roxanne stuff right now since we've talked about it. Um, I I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm not for some reason like I understand why people like Lola Vice. I get why people like Lola Vice. Um, she just hasn't done it for me yet, and I don't know why. Um, so maybe that's partly why I was her whole the entire segment where she was crying, it just to me felt like crocodile tears. It didn't feel like genuine emotion to me. Um, and I'm apparently wrong, but that's okay. Um, the it just never broke over into me feeling sympathy for her due to that. But if that is the case, and I mean it's genuine emotion, and that people end up buying into it and things like that, like uh, I can see how that would get her, win her over in the eyes of the fans. Not that I think she really needs much winning over. I think she does a lot of that on Instagram. Uh, but but yeah, Roxanne though, I am loving heel Roxanne. Um I think it's like she spent so long as a baby face that just felt inauthentic as well. But now I feel like she's really found her stride as a heel character. And I think that's what Lola needs too, is to turn to the dark side. I think they want to push her as a natural like baby face right now and have the crowds cheering her and things. But to me, she just feels like so much more of a natural heel. And we've seen kind of moments where she brings out that like Latina sass and uh, it just kind of like can kind of lean into that and kind of be a great bad guy, bad girl, bad woman. I don't know, but you get my point. Um, so yeah, but like I said, the Roxanne, really impressed with what she's been doing lately. She's a champ for a reason. Um, I I give Lola a bit of a chance to win at Heatwave. I've said it for a couple. I don't know. I've said it for probably a couple months now that I think Roxanne was probably going to wind up holding on to the title until Cora Jade came back, and we may see a feud between the two of them. Um, but I don't know. They seem high enough on Lola, and Roxy has had the title for a little while now, where I wouldn't necessarily be super surprised if they did a switch. Um, as far as Roxy going up to the main roster, I don't think so just yet. If she does drop the title, I think she's ready for it, but uh, I don't know if there would necessarily be a place for her just yet. I feel like she may get lost in the shuffle, um, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. They could find a place for her eventually, but um, I'd worry about her. I'd worry for her if she was to go up to the main roster, and I think she'd get less TV time. Obviously, more of a chance and opportunity to learn, but I don't know. I don't think she'd be a centerpiece of the women's division for probably like a year or two. Anyway, we'll talk about the rest of the stuff later. But Roxanne and Lola.
So I did feel like this was an odd place, as Azan said, to have Lola give her backstory. And the thing was, I'm not trying to make it a contest, but when she talked about struggles, her first thing was that she was a black belt or something like that. Her mom was a black belt and was pregnant with her. And then when she was training for the Olympics, her mom got sick. And we can all relate to family members getting sick. I understand that. But she brought up how Roxanne struggled, and we all heard about her struggle, and she's talked about it on the show. It just seemed like her definition of struggle is a lot different from what we might think of as struggle. And this was their shot to, because last week we discussed who's going to be the face in this one. They're both heels, and I said it don't matter because they're all going to cheer Lola Vice no matter what. So I was a bit surprised here that they made such a hard turn to try to make her a face in this situation, considering that she was already getting cheered. Maybe they're worried about her reaction or the reaction she receives when they head out of Florida, but I'm going to take a gamble here and say that she's going to have a similar type of reaction in Toronto as she does in Florida. So, to me, this was a bit odd in terms of having her give the backstory here. And again, for that backstory to not seem as intense as I guess the word that I would use as I expected it to be. But the emotions are genuine. We don't have to discuss it anymore, Nate. And the thing that stood out to me here was that there was a big moment in there where it seemed like either one of them forgot a line or skipped a line, and so Perez just kind of interrupted a Vice and kind of went off from there. But as it went on toward the end, Perez got stronger, and her sort of sinisterness, or maybe not sinisterness, but the kind of the more vileness that she has as a heel came out toward the end, and I feel like I still feel like the segment was pretty rough. Probably the roughest segment of the night. That wasn't non-match segment of the night, but the match should be fine. I just am concerned for you, Nate, because you keep forgetting about the fact that we've been telling you for how many weeks now that it's going to be Julia and Julia and Julia, and you keep forgetting about Julia and Julia and Julia.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you do. And every time you do, I go, oh yeah, Julia. It's an out of sight, out of mind thing where she's not on TV. But yeah, you're probably right. Let's go. We'll go backwards here. Yeah, usually we jump around. We're just gonna go backwards tonight because that's how I feel like we're gonna do it. Jasmine Nix with JC Jane versus Carmen Petrovic, and with Jasmine Nix going over in 3 minutes and 50 seconds. I, I I don't know. I didn't really find myself getting too invested in this match, I guess. I think like Jasmine Nix, I think is she's a lot better than she was. I feel like when she first debuted, like it was a little rough. But I think she's so much improvement.
I think you're confusing her with someone else because her debut match, Kelly and I were just like, wow, didn't know she had that they had this locked up away. I think you might be confusing her with someone else.
I might be. That's entirely possible. But yeah, like I said, I thought this match was it was pretty good. We had Fallon Henley Fallon Henley being in the back watching the match. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have a whole heck of a lot to really talk about here, but so I'll throw it to you. You're on mute.
That is correct. I am on mute. I'm going to call JC Jane Rip Jane from now on to honor Rip Hamilton and the face mask he wore even after he didn't need it during his playing days in the NBA. So Rip Jane it is. Jasmine Nix has, from her first match, has shown that she has a lot of talent, catching on pretty quickly. Her kick offense is really good, and they both showed that in their match tonight with their little standoff in the beginning of the show, the beginning of the match, with their. I think Nyx tried a leg sweep and Petrovic tried a spin kick, and they both evaded. So I feel like these two are probably going to be, at worst, toward the Women's North American Championship level by the end of the year, I feel like, with their development, with how good they are in the ring, and the stories that they've already had, including for. I don't know what the situation is with the contract, but they mentioned Natty 3 or 4 times tonight during the show in relation to Carmen Petrovic. So maybe she's coming back, maybe not, but that kind of rub, I guess, already, plus Jasmine Nyx being kind of on TV every week, even if she's not in a match, I think it speaks to their confidence in them and the development they see with these two. So for me, I look forward to their continued development. I think that these two will be pretty important pieces come 2025.
All right, we'll go back to Wendy Chu versus Carly Bright. Wendy Chu goes over 4 minutes and 5 seconds. The Nightmare Wendy Chu, which I'm a little bit higher on than I was the narcoleptic Wendy Chu, but not by much. Like I said, I mean, I think it was a good match. Carly Bright still has a ways to go, but I still think it was a pretty good match. Wendy Chu's pretty over, at least in the Florida crowd, anyway. She got a great reaction from the crowd tonight. And I mean, and she can wrestle circles around anybody. I mean, she's been able to do that before she even entered NXT. So I'm really curious to see what they're doing with Wendy Chu. I feel like there's a ceiling on this character. You can't really it's because it's a silly character. It's not really. It's not a serious character. I mean, she has, as the narcoleptic Wendy Chu, she did challenge for the women's title at one point, but I don't think anybody believed for a moment that she could actually win it. Which sucks because the woman behind the character is actually a fantastic wrestler. But that said, I know that the character, at least the sleepy Wendy Chu, was something she kind of came up with and had a big hand in. So I give her credit for doing something that she's having fun with. I'm just like, eh. Ooh, Steve, I like that idea. Steve Repsher just says TNA crossover idea. Dark Chu pairs up with Rosemary. I kind of like that. That'd be interesting. So yeah, Wendy Chu versus Carly Bright. Bruce.
I wasn't a fan of this match. I just I feel like this Nightmare Wendy Chu's a bit too plotting and kind of running the territory of no selling a bit. Whereas, I mean, I guess I should give it a couple more weeks, but I just feel like I don't understand why they're so locked into having this gimmick tied to her. I feel what was her name in Tiansha?
Mei Ling.
Mei Ling.
Mei Ying. Mei Ling was the coworker I used to have. Mei Ying was the character.
So I feel like Mei Ying was a better representation of this type of character than what they're doing with Nightmare Wendy Chu. So, and then Carly Bright again. My thing is, you're still doing the pink and blonde thing, and you're gonna have the obvious comparisons, which don't go well for you when you're getting literally no reaction from the crowd during the match, even during a comeback sequence. So, and then Kendall Gray was just there, and of course they spell it with one L. This is a company that gives their people 2 Ks, but they have Kendall spelled with one L. Okay, never mind. So I get Carly Bright has potential. I'm just not sure it's got to come out in this character. It just seems way too generic. So we can move on.
All right, we'll do that. Let's keep going here. Miles Bourne with the no quarter catch crew in his corner versus main man Ora Mensa with Metaphor in his. We saw Oro go over in 8 minutes 21 seconds. I dug this match. There was a point in this match where we were discussing. I think it was this match where we were discussing. I don't know, maybe it wasn't. No, never mind. I was thinking of a different match. It was when we were talking about the Lola Vice thing. Um, but yeah, no, like I said, I thought this was a good match. Miles Bourne, great wrestler, but man, I feel like I don't want to say he's a black hole of charisma because it's not. I don't think that's accurate, but I I don't know. There's just something. Every week I can't remember his name. Anytime he's on TV, it takes me like 20 seconds. Oh yeah, Miles Bourne. I feel like they need to kind of make, if they want him to get over, make him a bit more of a centerpiece of no quarter catch crew. Right now, he just seems like, at least to me, he just seems like that annoying little brother that's hanging out with the group. Maybe not quite annoying, but those are the descriptors I chose. I do like the addition to Tavion Heights with no quarter catch crew. I know we're not talking about him necessarily right now, but I think that he was a great addition to that that faction. Like I said, I also think that this is. I think we said this earlier, a little bit earlier before we started talking about this match. I think it was Hazan's email, but yeah, I like what this is doing for Oro Mensa. He's kind of gone from being almost feeling like, again, I'll say like a sidekick to Noam Dar. And now he's come into his own a bit more. He's like, uh, yeah, he's come into his own a little bit more. And just a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? He's come into his own a bit more, but he's also like shown that he can be, I guess, the leader of a group, for lack of a better word right now. So yeah, let's Oro Mensa versus Miles Bourne.
My main question, going back to the backstage segment with Damon Kemp earlier, where he brought in the brass knuckles for Miles Bourne, and Dempsey was pissed, is, does Charlie Dempsey know that Miles Bourne is deaf? Because it seems like he doesn't know that Miles Bourne is deaf. Because he was like yelling at Bourne, and then he's like, Miles, and then Miles turns to him, huh? And he goes,
is he deaf in canon though? Like,
no,
I know
he's deaf. He's deaf in
Yep.
canon. When he debuted, they hyped him as the first deaf wrestler in WWE. Yes,
yeah,
he's
okay,
deaf.
yeah, you're right. I do remember that now that you say
So
that. Okay.
he's deaf in canon, and he's deaf in real life. So I really want to know if Dempsey understands that, because that backstage set made me think it was with the stuff from last week too. Just does he know that he's deaf? And I'm not sure he does, which is kind of a funny gag to keep running between the two, because it just I don't know. I just felt like Dempsey seemed kind of goofy there, not understanding that, and then of course that all came out to play a role in the end of the match, where Damon tried to slip Miles the brass knucks, but Bourne was telling him off, saying no, and it just set up for the ending where Mensa hit his running couple air kick in the corner. And at this point, we were talking about last week, oh, maybe we're going to have Dempsey and Heights break off, and we'll have Bourne and Kemp break off into different tags. With how things are going, they might just kick Kemp out and be that, and go with the three of them as the no quarter catch crew, because he has only done things. I mean, he's lost, and now he's causing losses for people in their stable. So at this point, he might just be someone that is gone. Oro, to your point, I'm not sure if be someone, if what you're looking for is leader of a faction, or if it's something like he showed that he could handle himself as a singles wrestler, which he did show in
I
UK.
I think that's what I was looking for. Yeah.
He did show that in UK, and also when he came over again, they tried those early vignettes, but they just kind of, I don't know if stopped is the right word, or if they felt like it wasn't going anywhere, so they just they pulled back on what they're going to do with him. Because for a while before Metaphor happened, he would just pop up every now and then as an enhancement talent for somebody going up the card, and it's good to see him being able to showcase his talent and for them to utilize his backstory in a way that makes sense, right? So the reason why he's been going after Ethan Page so hard is because Noam Dar Metaphor was the first place he felt like family because of his backstory that I told last week, which, going back to Azan's point about Lola Vice's backstory earlier, didn't seem out of place, right? Whereas Vice's kind of did. I did want to note that I think it was Ellie said that they posted Instagram with Wendy Chu and Tatum Paxley earlier. So something with that. And Tatum Paxley did tweet after the street fight when they went through the barricade on the side. Someone said it was Tatum's home, and she said she was really mad. So I kind of cackled at that, which is why she came out from the other side of the arena today during someone else's match. So, which was it the Jasmine Nix match? Yeah, it was a Jasmine Nix match, wasn't it? So, yeah. Did they drop the stuff with Trick and Lash? That is something we were actually discussing in our chat about the call tomorrow with HBK, and if Kelly should ask about that. I, of course, told Kelly that he needs to ask Shawn Michaels about Dante Chen because everyone else is going to ask about the other things anyway, but also, why wouldn't you ask about Dante Chen? So,
I mean, why not? If you
understand.
have the chance to ask about Dante Chen, although I told Kelly that he should ask Shawn Michaels why he blocked me on Twitter because I don't know. I don't tweet, so I don't know what I did to upset one of my childhood heroes. But I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to do. I didn't. Maybe I shouldn't call you buddy. I'm sorry, Sean.
And just for Brian Alston, I muted there, so there were no sirens.
I did hear it though. I heard a siren.
Nate,
you didn't.
You're supposed to back me up on this.
Oh, right, Brian. You can't drink. No drinking game. No siren drinking game. All right. So I forget what we were just talking about. We hit Miles Bourne. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's talk about the Perez and Vice face to face. Oh, do we already have? Brinley Reese with Idris Enofe and Malik Blade versus Izzy Dame. This went 2 minutes and 38 seconds with the Falcon Arrow driver as the finisher. I like how you put the finishes in the report. Makes my life easier. But yeah, I mean, this was really just, I think, a way of having Brinley lose again and kind of play into this whole thing with Idris Enofe and Malik Blade, that the three of them are, or well, at least that Idris Enofe and Malik Blade are unlucky. They've kind of kept talking about how unlucky they are. I think there was even an episode where, oh yeah, he broke a mirror. That's right, he broke a mirror. So bad luck and all of that. She, after the match, I don't think it was directly after the match, but there was a segment a little bit later in the night where Brinley, Idris Enofe and Malik Blade were backstage, and Brinley basically says to them, like, I don't think this is working or something like that. And she's like, I'll be at the gym. You guys can join me if you want. And she kind of walked away pretty dejected, considering how up and excited and bouncy Brinley Reese usually is. She was like, no, I think I might be done with this, fam. I'm not sure. So okay. I am intrigued by the angle with Idris Enofe and Malik Blade. They're a fantastic tag team. We've talked about how we think they're underrated here on the show. So I like to see them getting TV time. I wish it would be in a better gimmick than, hey, we're unlucky. But that luck has to turn around at some point, and I'm hoping that eventually that means that they win the tag team titles. I think they're ready for it. I think they deserve it. And I could see that playing out in that direction. At least that makes sense to me. Bruce, Brinley Reese, and Izzy Dame.
So about that backstage segment, they're running a. Are they gonna break up or are they not? Because Reese said,
Yeah.
if you don't want me to be around, just let me know. I'm gonna go work out. If you want to come, that's fine. Yada yada yada. So very downtrodden. Much more downtrodden than Rich Holland was trying to be during the Chase U segment. But that's a different story. It's Rich Holland after all. So the match itself, it was 2.5 minutes. You can't really get into a match too much with 2.5 minutes. It's kind of tough. But, Izzy Dame, there's a question about what her character was, and Azan said, oh, she plays volleyball and she's mean. I mean, yeah, that's true. But one thing that she does have that is hard to teach is she does have a confidence about her when she comes out and when she's in the ring, which is hard for many people to learn. So, and she does keep improving in the ring. It's not like she's just out there and having bad match after bad match. That's not it. She's definitely still green, but she is going out there and each week showing that she is gradually improving. Even if she's in there with people who aren't as experienced as other people might be, or might have as much experience as she does. So, losing Kiana James when she did to the draft was a bit of a hamper in her development. I think because Kiana James was one of the people that was holding that women's division together. Her and Fallon Henley were so tied together, not just because they were tag team champion together and because they feuded so much, but coming out of that breakout tournament, you look at those two, Roxanne Perez, and they really were the ones that held that division together throughout those 2 or 3 years before Kiana James was drafted up to Raw. And to me, looking at it, I think with Izzy Dame, they need to keep at it because she definitely has something. I was gonna say Carly Bright. Wow, with all these names, by the way,
I know.
just gosh, there's so, Brinley Reese. Did she also? No, it was Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan that had the vignettes about gymnastics. Reese, I don't know if her ceiling is anything more than kind of low card enhancement talent. And you do need those, but I'm not really drawn to this character, and I'm not really drawn to this character in the ring either. So it's kind of hard for me to give a accurate or unbiased assessment based off of that. It's just tough, and I think it might be that they're running this bad luck or down on their luck story with her and No Fan Blade. Maybe if she's by herself and doing some stuff as a singles wrestler, aside from being associated with those two, then it could be different. But as of right now, I just don't really find myself very interested in the character of, I was going to say, Brinley Reese. I almost said, okay.
You almost did it again.
No, I almost said that. I almost called her Brinley Reese and thought I had the wrong person and called her Carly Bright again. Yeah, so again, all these names are just yes.
Yep. I know. WWE is lately with some of these NXT names just oof. I still don't understand Breaker with 2Ks.
2Ks, but Kendall with 1L. I mean,
Yep. And what killed me was when we had Spring Breakin', I kept spelling it KK. And I hated myself for that. All right, let's keep going here. Boop, 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 boop. New Catch Republic versus Hank and Tank in a tag team match. We had New Catch Republic going over in 11 minutes and 29 seconds. I think that's the second longest match of the night, behind our opening match. I dug like I said, I dug the match. I think this is like Hank and Tank is I really dig their tag team, and I love their vibe. The fact, especially like Hank, going back to being the security guard and having kind of that weird little story where he graduated from being a security guard to a wrestler. Like, it was kind of endearing, right? I liked it. I didn't at first, but it grew on me. Um, and and Tank just reminds me of a mix of Tucker and Otis, like, put together. And I really liked Heavy Machinery, so I'm kind of good with that. Um, so yeah, like I said, I think this was a good match. I think they had some great chemistry together. Somebody made a point earlier in the night, and I don't remember if it was an emailer or a caller or whatever, but the fact that it was, a face versus face match, and it felt kind of weird, like, obviously putting them together in a face to face, a face versus face match, but also, like, Hank and Tank, they haven't won any of their matches. Somebody said, I'd have to fact check that, but I'm going to just go with what whoever it was that said it. And yeah, like, so it did kind of feel a little weird. Like, what are they doing to? I guess it's not like deserve. I was going to say, what are they doing to deserve a match to New Catch Republic? It's not like they're the champions or anything like that, but they're definitely much more established, and both on and off the main roster. So I don't know. But putting that aside, I still enjoyed the match, and I'm glad to see Hank and Tank actually getting some TV time, and I'm hoping it again leads to kind of like with Idris Enofe and Malik Blade. I'm not saying I want to see Hank and Tank win the titles, but I'd like to see them on TV a little bit more. They're definitely entertaining. On the New Catch Republic and Hank and Tank.
So they might not have deserved the match, but they asked the team for the match, and New Catch Republic agreed. So there's that. They requested the match, and they got it. I can't hold that against them. To the point about the match, I've always said it that I don't care about it face, heel. Just get me invested in the match. You don't have to. It doesn't always have to be a straight face heel dynamic to me. So I'm not mad that it was a face match. I'm also not that mad that it was predictable, only because when you go into a match like this and you know it's going to be New Catch Republic winning, you have to at least do enough to make the losing team, gain enough that people see it as a worthwhile time. And to me, it was worth the effort and time they received. Hank and Tank received some realistic near falls. There was that the power bomb clothesline lariat combo from the top rope that I think was their best shot at winning the match, and I think in most cases and other times would have won a match. So they came out and looking good, and the crowd was behind them. Crowd was behind both teams actually, and for both teams to get that reaction, especially Hank and Tank, and a Tank is just a bundle of energy, and that's just putting it lightly. I've always said predictable matches are fine as long as the execution is good, and I thought the execution was good here. To me, it's not good when there's always just predictable matches over and over again, and that happens from time to time on NXT and on other shows. So to me, aside from that, the predictability the easily predictable nature of the match, I do like the action that we saw. I do like the chemistry between the two teams that we saw as well. And the show of respect that they received after the match is going to go a long way for NXT fans because of the association that both of these men have with Bate and Dunn have with NXT, NXT UK, and how integral they both were in terms of how I guess integral both were in the times in NXT. And just for Kyle O'Reilly's sake, Peter Dune.
All right, let's go to our opener, a street fight between Jaida Parker and Michin, which saw
Michin
Jaida
wearing
Parker
black and gold.
Yeah, I really dug that. She wearing back from her Mia Yim days.
The We Are NXT shirt.
Yeah, like it was cool to see that. I kind of liked that throwback. But we did see Jada Parker go over in 12 minutes 34 seconds. I thought this was a lot better than I expected. And I don't know why I didn't expect the bar to be set a little bit higher for this, because Michin is a fantastic wrestler. Jada Parker has shown that she can be great in the ring, and she really understands her character. It wouldn't be like, not that I know much about her, Jada Parker, the woman outside the ring. I don't know her real name, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jada Parker is just her turned up to 11. As we all know, that's where you find your stride and usually your best gimmick. She knows how to work a crowd, and she's really coming into her own in the ring as well. I thought the as Azan White just said, the chair bump was wild. I agree. What was that they threw in the ring? I had my volume kind of down at the beginning of this, but like it looked like there was like on the chairs some sort of almost like it was nuts and bolts. Okay, I couldn't quite tell. Corbin was a little whiny, and I had to sit on the couch with him over there, so I couldn't quite. And I had it playing on my computer right here, so I couldn't quite see everything going on. For the majority of this match, but still, like I said, I think this was certainly a notch in the belt for Jada Parker. Michin, as defined down as she's been, I think that the fact that they kind of presented her tonight as the NXT veteran, especially coming out like Bruce mentioned in the black and gold. She beating her seemed like a feat, and kind of like I said, just feather in her cap. So I think this is going to be an overall good thing for her, and I still think that we're going to wind up seeing eventually a mixed tag between OTM, Jada Parker, and the Good Brothers and Michin. Since they're all affiliated, they're all kind of feuding right now. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where this winds up. We saw the Good Brothers, interrupt a segment at some point during the night, where they called out OTM and kind of made fun of them for being laid up from the beatdown last week. So keeping that feud alive as well. Jada Parker versus Michin. I throw to you just as you take a sip of your drink.
Yeah. So the 6-person tag was basically alluded to when the Good Brothers essentially took over the camera from after Inoue Blade and Reese had their little segment after their match. And this match overall, to me, this is what I was most looking forward to tonight, was a street fight, and they started off the show hot with it. The beginning minutes of the match were a bit rough, but it caught on after that, and especially after the break. And they were not holding back on their shots with each other. They were really laying into each other, and something like that, I think, really helps sell the street fight. Those kendo stick shots, the chair shots, they were pretty, they were pretty hard. And especially that sequence where Michin was just waylaying Jada Parker with the kendo stick, especially toward the corner, and just hitting every part of her body. And you could just hear her crying out in pain. So I thought that this was a good match. And I like Parker going over. To me, is not surprising. But I also want to put over the fact that, and it's what I wrote in my report, her rise has been, since the breakout tournament, has been something. I mean, remember, she was eliminated in the first round of the breakout tournament, and she's one of the few that's still really going from that tournament. And outside of Lola Vice, who won that tournament, I mean, you could even argue that Jada Parker's been doing better than Lola Vice has been doing. Lola Vice just has the title shot, yeah, but Jada Parker's been out there every week, seemingly in matches or segments, and each time it's showing the confidence, the demeanor, the improvement in and out of the ring. And, again, that confidence, it's more than Izzy Dame has, and it goes a long way. And she seems like you cannot daunt her while she's out there, while she's doing her thing. I do feel like that 6-person tag is coming. It probably will be something to I think it'll be either a show opener for NXT or one that goes over that goes between the first and second hours. But I'm not sure if they're going to have it as main event. But it should be a fun match, and I like the chemistry between these two. This is the second or third time we've seen them in the ring together, and they seem to work well. And the fact that, again, they're not afraid to just lay into each other. I mean, if you've seen Mia Yim's matches in the past outside of WWE, you're not surprised that she's in matches where people are looking like they're trying to beat the hell out of each other, right? So, overall, again, like this match, like the outcome, really like what we're seeing from Jaida Parker, and she's someone who seems like she's bound to hold some type of title by the end of 2024.
All right, we'll get. So, what did you? Let me get your thoughts on the vignettes that they did for everybody in the Fatal 4-Way. They did them throughout the course of the night. The one, Javon Evans showed a bunch of highlights of him winning the Battle Royal. We saw the one for Sean Spears, who said that he kind of wanted to come back and lead a young and inexperienced group of wrestlers, and he wanted to share his wealth of knowledge, which is what I think his goal is in real life. And they're kind of bridging that reality and fantasy there. But yeah, just kind of what did you think of those, and and kind of the build up to the main event? I should have done that while we were talking about the main event, but we're talking about segments now. So there we go.
I think they were fine. It's hard for me to watch WWE produced vignette and think, oh, they messed up that one, or oh, that wasn't a good one. It usually, if it's I think something like that, it comes down to the character not drawing me in. So these were fine. They did what you want these kind of things to do when you're heading into a championship match. Each person giving their reasoning for why they believe they're going to be champion, and emphatically saying that they're going to be champion and how they're going to be champion. So that to me was fine. I think what stood out to me most about tonight overall is, especially that first hour, it felt like they went in a pattern of match, vignette, match, vignette, match, vignette. And then with the second hour, it was, segment, vignette, segment, vignette, segment, vignette. It just seemed like there was over and over again. In the second half, they did have more backstage segments, but I don't think they had a single interview segment tonight, which is odd for NXT, because they usually have at least one backstage interview. There wasn't a single appearance from Kelly Kincaid, nothing from Sarah Schreiber. We only saw Ava once. Off the top of my head, the backstage segments were the thing with Ava at the end with Carmen Petrovic, the thing with Grace and Petrovic in the locker room, the brawl between Igwe, DuPont, and Gallus, the segment with Faye Blade and Reese, Mensa talking to Turner and Stone, the Eddie Thorpe thing, which was kind of a vignette, kind of not a vignette, and I think that's it. So it was just a lot of video hype segments for people and for matches, which I like when there's more of a mix of interview, vignette, match, not just match, vignette, backstage segment, vignette, right? So I think they went a little too heavy in that direction here. And I understand it's go home show, you have to save some stuff, but there are still some people who could have been on TV. Like, where the hell was Dante Chen? I mean, he wasn't on TV. Definitely could have put him on TV, right? And have have something
Steve
like
noticed. Steve noticed. Was there no
so
Dante on TV tonight?
there was no Dante Chen. So yeah, yeah, I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah. Now, and as you were talking, I'm wondering if maybe that's why this show felt so weird. Like, a buddy of mine went with me to Raw last night. Messaged me on Discord and was like, "Is it just me, or does this show feel weird or feel off?" I don't know. Let me actually bring it up and see what they said.
Well, you and Kelly were even talking about it in our group chat too.
Well, so that's why I actually brought it up in the group chat because they said to me, what was it? I don't even know. But basically, they said, yeah, it feels weird. Has this seemed like a weird night to you? Yeah, that's what they said. And I'm like, yeah, it does. Like, and I'm wondering if maybe that's why we had so many. It was so video heavy tonight. We didn't get a lot of the backstage interaction, backstage interviews, and it just maybe it just kind of that, I guess, more personal type of interaction between a live performance versus a video. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know, but I'm trying to figure it out, piece it together as I'm talking. But it did certainly feel a little bit of a weird show for me tonight. All right, so we also had, and I'll throw these at you all together. Only actually, I guess there's four if you want to talk about Eddie Thorpe because you did already. But so there was the Eddie Thorpe vignette, the Chase U segment where they asked Ridge Holland not to go to Heatwave with them. Then there was the Brooks Jensen segment, which we definitely need to talk about because we forgot to talk about it during Azan's email. And then also a vignette for Kalani Jordan, showing her the new women's North American champion, and kind of showing some of her highlights and Rob Van Dam inspirations, if you will. So yeah, anything on those segments?
I'll save Brooks Jensen for last. Well, I mean, we did talk about it. I talked about the I just said, oh, the millennial cowboy who drinks, right? And I understand it's a little different here because it's more of a de-evolution, whereas with Hangman Page, it was more about his anxiety and trying to cope with being at the top of the game when he was, so I get that, but it's also, I mean, it's also pro wrestling. We've seen things over and over again, and they're just redone, right? So I guess I did have an issue with them seeming to use alcoholism as another storyline, not segment, crutch for Brooks Jensen when it could have been any other reason that he was, he could have been out there like, oh, some folk that go through issues like this or situations where they feel like they're being slighted at work, slighted at in their friend groups, whatever, they channel in different ways. Maybe they go out and they work out more, or they put some more effort into their job, or they focus more on family or whatever it might be. And I don't feel like, at least out of the people that I've known throughout my life, that alcoholism is something they turn to that quickly, or at least drinking alcohol that way is something they turn to that quickly. So it's been a pretty rapid de-evolution in that case for Brooks Jensen. Now, the other thing that I feel like, the whole issue with the messenger too, because Shawn Michaels, I guess because he went through all those issues when he was a young wrestler and came out of them for the better on the other side. Maybe it makes sense for him to be the one to say, "Hey, let's have a sit down and figure out how we can." So they're having a sit down next week to discuss how they can move forward with Brooks Jensen and NXT. I wonder if this is where we see the return of Briggs, and we get a full-fledged official Briggs Jensen rivalry, and we could actually say Briggs Jensen this time, and not be wrong about it. So Yeah, I'm a bit upset at how they did that in terms of the use of his drinking being kind of the catalyst. That's the word for his rapid de-evolution. But on the other side, trying to look at it as a whole, I guess. The fact that they've put this much effort into an off-screen angle and bringing it on screen, I think speaks to their confidence in Brooks Jensen, even though if it was me, he didn't really show anything leading up to this that would make me think that he deserves this much time and effort for a big storyline like this. But that's just me.
Fair. All right. I think that's going to bring us to the end of our show tonight, guys. I'm Nate Lindberg. You can follow me on Twitter if you want. Please don't block me like Shawn Michaels did at Nate Lindberg.
Block him.
Check out things I do at natelindberg.com. And like I said, we'll probably be back for Heatwave. We haven't talked about a VIP show yet, but I'll talk to Kelly tomorrow when he's feeling better. And Bruce can't do it anyway. So we'll figure it out. We'll figure something up. But we'll probably be back on Sunday night for Heatwave for VIP members. But we'll definitely be back next week. Bruce, who are you?
I'm Bruce Lee Hazelwood. Find me at B_Lee253. My report for the Torch my report for tonight is up at the Torch, and on the VIP side, I will also be doing the report for next week's post Heatwave show. And just remember, everybody, go Sixers, go Giants.
Go Dante Chen.
Go Dante Chen.
Peace.